Are you wanting to make a greater impact in the world? If not now, when? Today on Awaken and Ascend, we get to hear from Christine Franklin, a two-time Amazon best-selling author and certified integrative nutrition health coach. Christine Franklin is from sunny Barbados and has lived in Victoria, BC, which is where I live now, Boston, and London. She would never have imagined in her wildest dreams that she would end up going from being a stressed out marketing manager to working with business owners on stress management. To top it all off, heart-centered entrepreneurs kept asking her to use her 22 years of global marketing experience to help them make an impact in the world without burning out in the process, and she answered that call. Christine is responsible for the health and fitness section of Podcast Magazine. She has been widely featured in major media as well as on popular podcasts. As the creator of Reclaim Your A-Game podcast, she is on a mission to help entrepreneurs thrive in both their personal and professional lives. Today, she is here to share that your someday is today. Today, I am so excited that you are here, Christine. Welcome. It's such a pleasure and an honor.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes. And so you obviously lived in a few places. You've been
Yes.
in marketing before. You've been through a whole journey of what stress feels like and what it can do. And now you're talking to people about reclaiming their A game. And I'm curious what lit your path? What got you inspired to do this kind of work?
Oh, I feel like it's been quite a journey. So I've had some stops along the way that have kept inspiring me. But I must say, the first thing that really inspired me was doing a job that I loved. I absolutely love marketing, and I really enjoyed a diverse range of things that I had to do and had to deal with and create in my job as a marketing manager. But at the end of the day, it just became overwhelming. And you know what tends to happen when people realize that you are a doer, you like to get things done, more things tend to get added to your plate. So that was
Yes.
my situation. And I had not yet mastered the art of saying no. So here I was taking on more and more and more until I didn't have a personal life. And I was working evenings, nights, weekends, you name it. And a big part of my job was events as well. So when I was at an event, I was trying to catch up on work that I couldn't sit at my desk to do because I had to be out in meetings and all sorts of things. So I was in this cycle and I felt like I didn't know how to get out of it, even when I realized what was happening. And I looked around and I realized, first of all, that I didn't like how I felt. I felt foggy. I felt like at any moment something important was going to slip through the cracks. So that worry was always on my mind. And that was because I was feeling foggy, because I was so tired and overwhelmed. So it was this awful cycle. And I just remember feeling like this is not me. I'm used to being energetic and vibrant. And although I was showing up pretty well when I had to, I could muster it up. At the end of the day, my brain just never shut off.
Mm.
And I just didn't like how I felt in my body. I actually told someone that I felt like I was heated from the inside out. That's the only way I could describe it. It felt like I was just in this intense mode and I couldn't get out of it. And I
Yeah.
looked around and I realized that there were so many other executives and entrepreneurs that were in the same cycle. And some didn't realize it because we tend to normalize stress. We think, well, this is just what I have to do. This is what I have to put up with. This is the way it needs to be. And many people say, someday I'll retire and then I'll be able to relax.
Mm.
And someday I'll have financial freedom and I won't have to do as much myself and, all of that. And I just thought, you know what? I just don't like how today feels. you know,
Yeah.
Getting through today is a struggle. And I just want to not feel like that. And I want to help other people not feel like that as well. So that's really what got me started in paying attention to how people can get overwhelmed, just as I did. And a big part of my journey has been openness, being open to what comes along, being open to tuning in and understanding what's going on in my body, what's going on in my life, in my mind, and really taking time to take stock and then being open to where that leads me. So that's how my journey started, and it has just kind of rolled on step by step after that.
Yes, yes. And like I hear you mentioning about the self-perpetuating cycle of a to-do list, right? You get one thing checked off and then there's the next thing. And then it's programming our mind of what we need to do. And so our mind's in overdrive thinking about all the different things that we have to do. And it just keeps on going that way. And the image that I had actually, we can almost learn from the dog, right? A dog will circle around for a little bit, but then it rests,
Yes.
and I remember when I had this golden retrievers, the cutest, sweetest, most adorable dog you've ever met. Probably everybody would say that about their pet. But my dog would follow me around. I'd be going around in circles and, this way, that way. I don't even think I was in circles. I was all over the place, literally, in my mind, in my body, in the way my movements were. And my dog would follow me around everywhere. And then Brody just got tired of it. He just stopped and he actually sighed. It's like,
Wow.
enough already, like,
Yeah.
and it's always something, whether it's a health crisis, a pet, or the moment in nature, there's a moment of pause where we just realize, oh my gosh, you start to notice what's happening and that what's going on. And you mentioned the foggy mind, and it really creates this density, this heaviness that comes over us, and that it disables our ability to think straight. And there was an acronym I learned for fog many years ago that I still find really useful and so true. And it's fear, obligation, and guilt, right? The FOG of fog. And when we're in that space, chances are pretty good that we're in one of those states, whether we're moving and motivated by fear, not getting everything done and being in that hypervigilant state, the obligation, we have to do this, we ought to do this, we should do this, right? Or shouldn't. And then the guilt that we have when we're maybe having to say no to things that we wanted to say yes to, and having to say yes things that we wanted to be able to say no to, and then having that guilt on ourselves, right? And
yes,
it'd be really nice if we can change that to-do list into a to-be list. And
ooh, I
then,
like that.
right? And then start orienting our minds to be able to experience a new way of being in the world and interacting with our work through our work and providing the service through that. You mentioned in your job, there's a lot of different duties, but you also mentioned you had an opportunity for creativity to flow, right? And there was
Yes.
a little bit of balance that way. So, being more creative, being in our craft, being able to follow our calling, if we do feel a calling, like many spiritual and purpose-driven entrepreneurs do, or even the call to have more significance, meaning, and purpose within a role if we're working for an employer, or even within our family, but different ways of being. Like if we were to make a to-be list, what would be on yours, Christine?
Well, I think just somehow, without even trying, I seem to have a knack for helping others shine when I'm shining. When I feel like I'm shining, then somehow that either inspires someone else to also look at how they can shine and make an impact, or in some way that I haven't even realized, I literally do help someone along the way. So, and that's not something that I typically think of consciously. I only more recently have started to think about it, but it's after having people give me that feedback. Actually, sometimes we need others to tell us. And so by just being myself, I always say when I show up just as I am. What you see is what you get. I'm a very straightforward person. And so people often tell me the way you show up is enough. I just feel your energy. I feel how radiant you are. And so I realized that I just need to tap into that and be my best self. Just do everything that fuels me to show up as my best self, because that's really all I need to do, which is pretty cool that it's that easy.
It's that easy, exactly.
It's easy, but...
And that's true being, isn't it, Christine? That there's nothing to do except show up and just be yourself. Just show up in yourself. But we do have to recover ourselves to be ourselves. So when are in that burnout place, when we don't have our fire, when we don't have our ability to say no, right? What can we do to be able to recover ourselves so that we can be ourselves?
Well, I take particular pains to slow down
Mm.
because if I don't consciously do it, then it's just going to roll on with one thing after the other, one project after the other. And before I know it, a week will go by and I'll be thinking, well, where did that week go? And I haven't even processed what has happened during that week. So I start my mornings very specifically. I absolutely have to start my mornings with quiet time. And because I've made that a habit, then I don't have to force myself to do it. I don't have to put it on my schedule. I just know that's how I'm going to start my day first thing. So I'll spend that time in reflection, in prayer, and that's before I talk to anyone.
Yes.
And so that's really the key for me. And because it has become a very natural habit, I don't have to think about it at all. So, that is something that if you start, you see the benefit of it, and then you just want to do it every day. So that's what I recommend, really finding a way where you can easily carve out that time or it's not like, I'm creating a self-care day or anything like that. Not like it's a special occasion. This is an everyday need that we have to tap in and slow down and really tune in with ourselves. So any practice that you can start as an everyday practice, just start it and you'll see how good it feels and it becomes a part of your life easily.
Yes, yes, it's so true. And I agree with you. My morning routine is a non-negotiable. Those first couple of hours in the morning are mine before I even leave the room, most of it before I even leave my bed. There's that time of reflection, some meditation, some thinking. You mentioned about being able to process things, being able to assimilate. Integration is incredibly important. And that quiet space. Yes. Yes, we need quiet so that we can even just
Yes.
hear ourselves think or feel our heartbeat, and just feel and sense. Children are like that. They're feeling and sensing more than they're thinking, right? And it'd be nice to be able to remember that we have that ability too, even as adults, to feel and sense what's going on in our body. How are we feeling mentally, emotionally, spiritually? And then doing what's necessary to support ourselves and hold space for ourselves in that. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yes.
It's so important, especially having that morning routine and then even an evening routine to unwind from the day's work, because
For
there's a lot
sure.
that happens from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep,
Yes.
right?
Oh my gosh, yes. And entrepreneurs definitely have a lot that happens. So,
Absolutely.
gosh,
Yeah. It's incredible. And so to be able to reflect, on what happened that day, maybe not even looking at the to-do list, but having a success log of what occurred that day and not just business successes, but also the personal ones too. I took the time today to exercise. I made a call to, a loved one or sent that letter or, the personal and professional successes that occur and knowing that there's no duality in that. This is work, this is play, right? As you say,
yes,
if we're showing up truly as being ourselves, then we're the same person, no matter what we're doing. And we're not this person when we're at home and this person when we're at work. We're the same person, just
yes,
engaging in different activities, working with different people, but still being ourselves because when we're not, then it takes us out of alignment. And so, what do you find in the people you work with, Christine, when they're coming to you because they're burnt out? They're looking for stress management. What can you offer them? How do you support them?
well, my strategy is always how can we simplify?
Mm,
So I look at what they're currently doing, and we're not going to get into trying to add anything to that or change anything dramatically. But what are you doing that can be simplified in some way for entrepreneurs, especially? What are you doing that can be outsourced or automated? What are you doing that doesn't need to be as complicated as you think it is? And marketing is a big part of that. Many people are overwhelmed by all the bright, shiny objects related to marketing their business.
yeah.
And, I really help people to narrow down to what feels aligned with them because a lot of these tactics that are recommended don't feel aligned with most people. So they feel like every day they're forcing themselves to do what some guru said you should do. And they don't do it consistently. Then they get disappointed with themselves and they think their business isn't growing as it should because they aren't doing the things that people have said they should do. And then, it cascades into this whole big ball of worry. And so I just believe in starting small and simplifying every bit that can be simplified, taking a step back and assessing how can we approach this differently and make it less complicated.
Yes, and today, not
Yes,
someday,
yes.
right? But today. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
People
so
often
tell
think,
us more about that. Like, why is it
yeah,
important to start today and not put
yes.
things off anymore?
Yeah, people often think when I become a millionaire, I'll be able to hire a whole team. But for now, I'm going to have to do it all myself. So let me just try to push on through and keep going as best I can. And it may be the best you can with that particular kind of approach, but there's another approach that can be adopted if we just, as I always say, take a step back. And so that is where, in a day, any morning you wake up, think about how you would love this day to go. How would you love the day to feel as you move through it? For me, that is absolutely crucial. So it's not just about reaching a goal and achieving something, but how do you want your days to feel as you wake up and you move from morning to night when you go to bed? How do you want to feel?
Hmm.
And so that's the question that I always ask. And that determines what you'll do in your days. And that determines the real goals that you can set for yourself. And the goal is to have days that feel vibrant, feel like, as you always say, they're not full of obligation, they're not full of things that you should do, but things that you love to do.
Hmm.
So that's a whole new normal for most people. It certainly was for me.
Yes, yes. And it sounds like there's a conscious choice in there too between fear and love, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of our actions, our daily activities are coming from the place of fear, right? Of not enough, right? Not doing enough or
Yes.
we're not good enough, where we can switch that to a place of love, as you say, how we really want to be feeling. And most people say peaceful, joy, excited, happy, like all the
Yeah.
positive vibes, all the good feels. And to be able to come from a place of love, which when you look at that acronym is lots of vital energy, then you're doing the
Mm.
things that where you give and direct your energy to, but you're also receiving it back
Yes.
because it lights you up. It makes your heart sing and it's making you feel really, really good and happy. And you can't not smile,
Yep.
because you're aligned. You're doing what you're meant to be doing. You're doing what you love. And really, that's your soul's expression as well. Living your passion, that's something I talk about a lot, is when you break up the word passion, it's pass I on. And that I is your soul's expression of what you're here to pass on in this lifetime. And when you're doing that, no matter what that might be doing, like what form that would be taking, then you're really expressing who you are, your radiance, like you were saying, Christine, about shining your light, and that lights everybody else's light up. You bring that light into every room, into every call, into every contact. You're bringing yourself into that just by your energy and your presence and your way of being in the world. So I love that you talk about how do you want to feel. So I think that's really important. It's going back, to that feeling and sensing and experiencing that and really aligning with what you love because that's what's going to give you the energy and the balance of that giving and receiving, I would think.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yes. I love what you said about thinking about children because
Mm.
that's exactly what I always have in the back of my mind. I'm a very curious person.
Yes.
And, I keep that and really hold on to it. because that gives us a childlike sense of wonder. And I
Yes.
want my days to be full of that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want it to be full of humdrum things that I need to do. There may be a bit of that, but I
Yeah.
want to feel that sense of awe and wonder and joy and celebrate life and celebrate nature. And so that for me is really key. You know, some people might want to celebrate other things, but whatever it is, there's something that really lights you up, as you said. And so I think it's so important to hold on to that little thing that might be overlooked
Mm.
and can really take you so far. So that's my North Star, you know. Am I really leaning into my sense of curiosity? Am I excited about something? That determines the decision I'll make about
Yeah. Yes, I love it.
it.
Yes, using what you love as a compass, and allowing that to
Yes,
direct you. Yes.
yes.
Yeah, like say that awareness and just making the conscious choice of where you're going to, what you're going to give your life force to,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that we don't
Yes,
get burned out and overwhelmed because then giving our life force in the wrong places because we're getting none of it back. But sometimes we can't expect others to give it back either, right? It's
right.
really up to us to take the time to hold the space for ourselves, to have time for quiet, for integration, for getting in touch with how we're feeling, how we want to be spending the day, and making those adjustments, the course correction, if we need to, if we're getting a little bit off track, to gently move ourselves back on track. Say, no, no, come on, this way.
Yes. And
Yeah.
it happens. It's natural. We all get off track
Hmm,
at
of
times. We all
course.
get caught up in busyness, and then we need to pull ourselves back. So if we make that our core, that sense of being centered and tapping in,
Mm,
then we always sense when we're moving away from it. Even if we get caught up for a bit, something reminds us. There's always something pulling us back. So, that is our little nudge that we just need to pay attention to. And another big piece of that for me is about openness,
mm,
always being open to the possibilities. Sometimes the solution is right under your nose and you don't see it because you're so caught up in your head thinking about what you think the solution should be or would normally be. But if we're open to just seeing and experiencing what is happening around us and really processing our experiences, then so much opens up to us. And
yes.
I think that's really important for everyone and particularly for entrepreneurs because we need to capitalize on opportunities. So if we tap into what feels good, what feels like we're on the right path, then that's usually the key. Often we don't know how it will work out. We have absolutely no idea. I've felt that many times. And
Mm-hmm.
I have learned to lean into that discomfort. And as long as it feels like I definitely have something there that is pulling me, that's the direction I'll go in. And I just take it step by step and wait to
Yes.
see how it works out. For me, life is a big experiment.
Yes.
We're here to enjoy it, explore, and we're made to be dynamic. We're not made to be stagnant and stay the same all the time. We'll change and, going through different stages and phases. So openness for me is really important as a part of that.
Yes. Yes. And that's what becomes so expansive then is being open to those possibilities and expanding our capacity to be able to have all these different experiences. And I love that you approach life with curiosity and being able to explore and experiment and see what's possible and how that feels and whether that elevates your life or takes away from it, right? And then we just keep making those adjustments along the way, step by step, as you say, and that can really slow us down to a more comfortable pace, as you talked about, simplifying, just taking things one step at a time. It's not always easy, though. Sometimes we do need some help. We do need a coach, for example, or a practitioner or a therapist or somebody else. Might even be a loved one, a friend, or someone from your community. or a place you go for refuge that can support you in that. And I know you work with a lot of people through this, Christine. So how would people get in touch with you? What's their first step to connect?
Well, you can go to my website, which is iamhealthywealthy.com. I'll repeat that, iamhealthywealthy.com. And there's a contact form if you want to get in contact with me. I also have a free gift, and that basically gets you into my world, but I'm going to happily share with you a podcast interview checklist in that free gift. So that's iamhealthywealthy.com/interview. And that's for all the entrepreneurs out there who want to do more of what I'm doing, being a guest on podcasts and just showing up in that energy that you have with your message, and those who resonate with you will find you.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a checklist to help you feel really confident and prepared and help you show up as your best self. And so once you grab that, you'll be in my world, and there are lots of other goodies that I share all the time. I love to share resources. So that's the best way to get into my world.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I will put those links in the show notes for everyone too, so that they can easily access that. And such a generous gift that you're offering. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome. It's the least I could do because, I think that we really are all vessels, and we're just here to help others along the way, to lift others up, whether it's your family, whether it's others around you, strangers that you might meet just in a one-off meeting. You just never know. And so I'm always happy to share. If I find something that I think can be a great resource, I am always happy to recommend it, because a lot of people have done that for me, and I believe in paying it forward and doing the same thing for others so that they can get a bit of help along their journey as well.
Yes, thank you. And I loved having you here on the show today to be able to be a conduit of this wisdom and to share your light and your love and your passion for the message that you're here to share with everyone. And I wonder if there's anything else, Christine, any other words of wisdom that you'd like to share with us today?
Well, I always say, don't worry about the how. So simply feel what works for you, feel what feels right to you, and go with it one step at a time. Focus on one thing at a time, take it one step at a time, and see where it leads.
I love that. Yeah, and be curious about where it leads. Sometimes we need to know, right? But
yes, for
what if you
sure.
opened up to the possibilities? Yeah, I love that. It's like unwrapping a gift, this
Yes,
gift of life that we've been
exactly.
given. Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I also want to thank each and every one of you that have been listening and watching today on Awaken and Ascend. I so appreciate you. And I have a guide in the show notes for you too, a guide to living your passion and purpose that you can get for free, just as a thank you for watching. And if you like this video, then give us a thumbs up. My name is Jennifer Regular. I am your show host and the Soul Illuminator at lightingthepath.ca. And I'm so grateful, Christine Franklin, for being with us today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. I
Yes.
thoroughly enjoyed being here.
Wonderful. And we'll see you all again next time on Awakened and Ascend. Bye for now.